and I'm going to be your lead instructor for today's interesting workshop on employee attrition analysis using AI in Excel. So just to give you a quick preview of what we will be doing, I'll just quickly run one function here in Excel, and that will actually use AI features, AI LLM, large language model, to analyze the data and give us the answer. So that is going to be the main theme of today's workshop, guys. Let me start recording as well. So let's look at one very quick example of what we will be doing. One of the major things that we'll be doing. So if you notice here, I've got some data source here, some data of why employees leave an organization. And here I have written one function, Labs.Generative, wherein I have shared one prompt to the LLM, which basically is asking it to generate the common themes why employees leave this organization. And if you can see, when I run this statement, this function, it takes a few seconds and it gives me the key reasons, the key themes why employees leave the organization. For example, it says personal and professional growth opportunities in terms of leadership, responsibility, and career advancement, seeking better financial stability and benefits for oneself and one's family, and so on and so forth. This small function is a very, very powerful technique through which we have integrated Excel with OpenAI's large language model, and we are renting AI brain to analyze the data which resides in Excel. So this is going to be the main theme of today's workshop, guys. And again, as I said, my name is 𝗪𝗲𝗃𝗏. Welcome to the workshop, guys. As I said, the main focus is to analyze employee attrition data, and I hope everybody can hear me loud and clear. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you all the steps, and then I'm also going to share the recording, as well as these files have already been shared with you all. And if you do not have these files, do let me know in the message window, and I'll share the link to download the file. I would suggest that you do these things, whatever steps that I will do, after the session is over, because the recording will be available to you. The files would also be available to you during the session. Do ask me questions which you cannot understand, or do ask me questions where you are getting confused. Alrighty, so you just saw one demonstration of how we are using the AI to analyze the data which resides in Excel. All right, but we will take all the baby steps here, and we will understand how to do all these steps one step at a time. Okay. So let me open the file, the Excel file, which is already shared with you, which says employee attrition case analysis using AI. If you do not have this file, I'm going to share the drive link as well from where you can download this file. Give me one moment. So if you look at the chat window here, and if you're joining from YouTube, we will share it in the chat window of YouTube as well shortly. All right, coming back to the data here, coming back to the Excel file here. So there are a lot of things that we will do today. Okay, some of the things we will use an external large language model through something called as API from within Excel. And in some of the analysis, we will use Excel's inbuilt AI features to analyze the data. Okay, but the first thing first, where is the data? So let's look at where the data is and how do we connect with the data. And remember, the data is in different files. So we will see how we can connect to the data from within Excel first, and then we will see how we can use AI to analyze that data. Alrighty, let me show you the data. So the data that I have shared with you all is there in this folder called as exists form. And if I open this data, you will find that there are 4 Excel comma separated values CSV files which are given over here. I'll just open one of them, and all of them are similar. The only difference is that they're of different years. So if I open 2020 data, and let's look at the headers of the column, and let's see what the data tells us about. So if you look, expand it. Yeah. So if you look at the column headers of the data to understand what the data talks about: employee ID, full name, job title, department, reason for leaving, date of joining, exit interview conducted or not. It's a binary field, yes or no. Company property returned when an employee exited the organization. Did he or she return the company property or not? And date of exit. So if you notice, this data contains only the information about the employees who have resigned from their company and have exited the company. Okay. It doesn't contain the data of the employees who are still there with the company. All right. It also has very nicely, it gives the reasons for them to leave the organization based on the exit interviews that the company conducted with those employees. So when I say exit interviews, which essentially means that whenever an employee leaves an organization, most of the good companies will want to understand from the employee why he or she is leaving the organization, and that becomes a reason for leaving, and they have documented it and it's there in this data. All right. So that is what this data is about. All right. Now you will all have access to this data. Before the workshop started, we had given you the link to download the data. Now, if you do not have this access, after the workshop, the bootcamp is over, we will give you the link to the data set as well. Now, before I move forward, there are a couple of things that I would like you to be reminded of. Today is the first day of this bootcamp series, the AI bootcamp series. Tomorrow, again, you have another bootcamp on similar case, but the tool will not be Excel, but it will be Power BI. One of my other colleagues, she's an expert in Power BI. She will walk you through what are the AI features and how you can use those AI features in Power BI while working on the similar case study, which is on employee attrition. So do ensure that you attend today's workshop as well as tomorrow's workshop so that you can get a certificate of completion that you have attended the AI Bootcamp series for this month by Ivy Pro School. Also, if you want to be connected with me on LinkedIn, then if you just Google my name, Prateek Ivy, you will find my name as the first link on Google, and you can get connected with me. I do accept requests from all our learners, so feel free to get connected with me. I'm connected to more than 10,000 people in the world of data and AI. I've spent around 20 years in this industry. So that's a little bit about me. And the company that is sponsoring today's workshop, today's bootcamp, is Ivy Professional School. So you may want to give them a visit and understand about the data and AI courses that they run in collaboration with IIT Guwahati and other prestigious organizations like IBM and NASSCOM and Government of India. So they are ranked number 3. So feel free to reach out to them. Also, you may want to subscribe to Ivy's YouTube channel to get the recording of today's workshop as well. All right, so that's about the background. Now let's come back over here. So we have understood the data. I'm going to close this data file. And similarly, so this data file contained the data only for 2020. Similarly, we have 4 files here all the way from 2020 to 2023, right? And you will find that outside this folder, there is another file which contains the data for 2024, current year. But I have not put this data file into this folder yet. I will tell you how we can actually put this 2024 data into this folder later and then combine all of them together as well. But first thing first, I go back to my Excel file where we want to get connected. We want to connect to the data files which were there in that folder that I showed you, the 4 Excel CSV files. So that is the first thing we'll understand, that how can you connect an Excel file to different CSV files which may be there in one folder, and how you can combine them together. So that's going to be the first and the foremost thing that we will try and understand. Alrighty, how do we do it? So the first thing first, the steps are also mentioned in this file. The first thing first is go to data, go to get data. So this is part of something called as a Power Query tool, which is a very, very powerful querying tool available in Excel, which I've seen a lot of people do not use very frequently, but it's a very powerful tool, especially when you want to bring the data into Excel, or when you want to connect Excel with different external sources of data. It could be databases, it could be web resources, it could be other files as well. Today, we will see how we can get connected to the data which is residing in an Excel folder. If you're interested in learning more about Power Query, I have recorded a couple of videos and which are there on Ivy's YouTube channel. I can give those links as well as part of the recording, so that you can actually get to know a little bit more about Power Query feature and how you can extract the data from not just the folder, but maybe web resources and other databases and so forth. All right, I'm going to go to get data from file, and I'm going to go to from folder. The reason why I'm going to the folder is because that one folder contains 4 different files that I want to combine. So this is the folder. I go to the folder, but I can't go inside that folder. So I have to be one step up, because remember, we want to extract the data from a folder. So I select this and then I click on open. And when I click on open, what it does is that it shows me that these are the 4 CSV files that it found in that particular folder. That is the reason why I had selected only till the folder. And then at the bottom here, it is telling me, hey, do you want to combine? So I say, yes, I want to combine, and then I want to load it to Excel. So I'm going to click on combine, and then it gives me a few options. I'm going to go to combine and load to, so that I can decide where I want to load in this Excel file. Maybe I want to load it in a new worksheet. Maybe I want to load it in a specific worksheet. So I go to close and load to. And when I click on close and load to, it starts to build that connection. Remember, it is an external folder. Okay. There are many files as well. It is combining all of them together. And after combining, it shows the sample output as well. So you can verify whether all the columns have come properly or not. So it seems like all the columns have come properly. Now, there are a lot of other things that you can do, like data transformations using this Power Query feature. Today's workshop is not about that, but as I said before, if you are interested in it, interested to learn more about Power Query, of course, we cover that as part of our data analytics and data science course in detail in Ivy. However, I have recorded a short tutorial on Power Query, and put it into Ivy Pro School's YouTube channel, and I'll give you the link to that in the description of the recording. Okay. Alrighty, for now, this looks like a good file. Good data, and the delimiter is comma, because remember, we are working with comma separated values file. So looks like a good preview of the data. Now I'm going to click on OK. And then when I click on OK, it will start combining all the 4 files of data which resided in that Excel, folder that we connected with. Now, because we had chosen that combine and load to, it gives me an option that how do you want to import the data? I want to import the data as a table, and I want to import the data. Where do you want to put the data? In a new worksheet. If you actually already had an existing worksheet, I could have selected existing worksheet and I would have gone to that particular cell. But I don't want to clutter the first worksheet that I have here, where I'm summarizing, and I want to keep this worksheet only for showing the insights. So I don't want to put it in this existing worksheet. So I want to put a new worksheet. And when I click on OK, what it does is that it creates a new worksheet for me. The name of the worksheet, it says exists forms, and then it pulls up all the data, and at the same time, it has combined the data. As you can see over here, this data contains 2019's data as well as all the way down to 2023 data as well. And on the right hand side, what you can see is, you can see the queries being formed. Okay, the connection that we established with that folder, we combined the data files, all of that is given in these steps. Okay, you don't have to be worried about it, but yes, as I said, if you're more interested in knowing more about advanced Power Query editor features, then these things will make sense. But today's workshop theme is not that. All right, so you can see that this connection has happened, and it says 488 rows have been loaded. And I can verify that also. If I click over here, control down, I can see that all the data files are uploaded. In the first column, I can see the source name as well, that this data has come from which CSV file. So the data is ready. Now I go back to my summary sheet where I want to create the insights. Now on the right hand side, if you want, you can click this cross button to close the query and connections, or you can have it, or you can reduce the size of this as well if you want. Okay. Alrighty. So the first thing, so that was the first thing that we did, that we used Power Query to connect to the data source by following these steps. Go to get data, go to data, get data from file from folder, combine and load it onto this worksheet. So that's something that we have already done. Now let's go to the next step that we want to do. Now the data is already there in this Excel file. We can start the analysis process. First, as I said before, I will help you understand how can you integrate Excel with external AI That means, for example, we all have heard of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just a software interface, just a user interface, but the actual AI model is a GPT 3.5 or GPT-4 or GPT-4 Turbo or 4.5 model or 4.0 model by OpenAI. OpenAI is the name of the company that owns or that created ChatGPT. So what we are doing, what is happening in the AI industry is that there are few companies which are building the model, building the brain, you may say, and there are many companies which are renting. So today, as a user of AI, LLM or large language model, we will rent the model from OpenAI using something called as application programming interface or API. Just to give you one quick overview of what that means, let me quickly draw one diagram so that we all can understand what we are talking about. So as I said, the most common LLM, the most common AI product architecture currently in the industry is this. Apologies about my handwriting, I'm writing on the screen. For example, we all use ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is just a software product which has a nice user interface. So let's call that as a AI product, which has a nice user interface, right? It could be, example could be ChatGPT or Copilot or any of these products that we use, right? Now you are a user, similar to you, there can be many users. The users will ask a query or they will ask for a prompt. This user interface or the software product understands that prompt and sends that prompt to. Now this is where the main AI brain is, which we call it as a large language model. Okay. In our case, we will use OpenAI's GPT models. It could be 3.5 turbo, it could be 4, it could be 4.0, all these LLM providing companies, the mega companies, for example, the Meta of the world, other LLM which are available, LLM models which are available in the industry, which are commonly used, are by by Meta, Llama, which is by the company which created Facebook, Meta, and then we have Gemini by Google. Then we have Cloud by Anthro. I find it difficult to pronounce the name of this company, but there are quite a few of them. Okay. Now, what has happened is the mega companies which have access to resources and money and computation resources, they have used their resources and huge, humongous amount of language data available, for example, PDFs, to train the AI model and to make them better. And then they have started renting those AI models to end users like us, or maybe the software builders, or just the end users like us, and we can rent them. We just have to have a nice user interface in between to be able to access it. Now, this product, this software product, for example, this can also be an Excel tool. For example, today we are using Excel. This product connects with large language model using something called as API, application programming interface. This is a window which allows authorized services or authorized softwares to connect to the large language model. Just for example, when you buy electricity for your home, you go to a electricity provider and you rent electricity and you pay based on the users that you have, the users that you take, so you pay on the basis of the units that you consume. Similarly, here when you apply for electricity, you are given an electricity number, which is unique to you or unique to your house. Similarly, when you want to rent AI services or AI from these large language providers, you do that by acquiring an API key, API secret or private key. Very, very similar to, for example, when you apply for electricity for your home, you get a electricity consumer number, which is unique to you, right? So similarly here, when you want to rent, you apply for API secret key, and you get that secret key by some of these companies give some credit amount for free, and some of these companies charge something for utilizing them. At some point of time, they all will start charging. Just remember that, okay? Nothing comes for free. So let me show you how to acquire an API key specifically from OpenAI, which is the mother company of ChatGPT. So you just go to Google, go to OpenAI API, type in Google OpenAI API. The first link that you get is OpenAI API over here, and you sign up with them. Sign up is free, right? Anybody can sign up. And then once you're there, on the top right hand side, you go to dashboard, and under the dashboard here on the left hand side, you will find something called as API keys. And when you go to the API keys, on the top right hand side here, you'll find create a new secret key. You give your secret, you can name it, say for example, Bootcamp. And I'll give today's date as well. Okay, let it be default project, doesn't matter. And then click on create secret key, and it will flash the secret key only once. So it flashes the secret key only once. Copy it, and remember, if you forget to do this step, you'll have to recreate the secret key. It won't show it again. Okay. Unfortunately, if I show you the steps again, it will end up creating one more secret key, but I'll tell you the steps. But for now, I have created the secret key. I've copied it as well, copy, and done. And ideally, I should save it somewhere in a secure environment, maybe email it to yourself as well. Why do we want to do it? Because as I said, it won't show it again. It doesn't show it. There is no way to see it again because of the security reasons. So let me put it over here for now. Now, Harshit said, can I repeat the steps? It's very simple, actually. The first thing I did was OpenAI API. I Googled on Google, and then I went to OpenAI API. Now I have already logged in, but you'll have to sign up. You can sign up with your Gmail account as well if you want. And once you have signed up with them, go to dashboard over here, go to API keys on the left-hand side here, then click on create new secret key. Remember to keep it secret, because it's like if somebody else accesses your secret key, then and your credit card information is available on their account, then you will be billed. Okay. Now you click on create secret key, and then you give some name. That name is what name that will come over here if you notice on the left hand side. Okay. And once you click on create secret key, it will end up creating a secret key, which will be a long text alphanumeric thing. But remember, it only shows once and then it goes away. So ensure to copy it, keep it saved, because that's the gateway, that is the window through which we will connect to the large language model, or we will rent the AI services from OpenAI. Alrighty, coming back over here to Excel. Now that we have procured the secret API key, then we have to ensure that your software product, in this case Excel, can utilize this API key and build a connection with the large language model. Now, Excel recent versions, I suppose 2019 version onwards, Microsoft added an add-in. There are a lot of third-party add-in, which I don't recommend at all, but Microsoft added an add-in, which allows us to very easily configure the API key and connect Excel with specifically OpenAI large language model, with not other large language model. But what I have also done is I will give you the steps to use a VBA code, VBA or Visual Basic Application code, which is the programming interface in Excel, which allows you to create functions or functionalities which do not exist in Excel by yourself. I'll give you the VBA code and the instructions on how to use that VBA, or how to integrate, or how to use that VBA code. In that VBA code, the main benefit is that you can actually also connect to other LLM providers as well, and you're not restricted to only OpenAI's large language model. So if you want to connect to some other large language models which may be cheaper or free as well, you can. Okay, but the add-in that is published, that is created by Microsoft, that does not allow you to connect Excel with other large language model. For today's workshop, what I have done is, for the convenience of it, I have decided to use the add-in which is given, which is which is created and published by Microsoft, to demonstrate how we can connect Excel to OpenAI's large language model through the secret API key that we have procured. Okay. Now, again, as I said, if you don't want to if you don't want to connect to OpenAI's large language model, I'll give you the steps and I'll put the steps. I've documented that steps in a Google Docs file, and I'll upload the link to that Google Docs file in the recording of the description of the recordings as well. All right. Now, as I said, it's an add-in. It doesn't come by default in Excel. And remember, it can only be added in the recent versions of Excel. If I remember it properly, then it was, I think, 2019 onwards of Excel. So when you go to Home, under Home, you will find something called as add-ins here. Under Home, you'll find something called as add-ins. When you click on the add-ins, then you will find a search bar. And then here you look for Labs or Excel Labs. Excel Labs. And the first link that you will get, or just search, and when you search for it, you will get something called as Excel Labs. Now mine is already configured, mine is already installed, but you will have to just click on install, and then it will end up getting installed. Once it is installed, which takes like a few seconds only, once it is installed, then what you need to do is you need to configure it. So see, if you scroll down here at the bottom, you'll find something called as configure API key. Now, when you click on API key, it says you can put your OpenAI API key, which we procured just a few minutes ago from OpenAI's website. Remember, I will put the API key over here. I'll paste it, and that's it. And click save. And there you go. You are done. Does it make sense, guys? Again, I'm repeating the steps. The first step is go to Home. In fact, I'll put it over here. Home, add-ins, search for Excel Labs, install, then configure API key, paste the secret OpenAI API key, and there you go, save it. Very, very simple steps, guys. I'll put it in the chat window as well so that everybody has it. This add-in is free. If you have the right version of Excel with you, then this add-in is free. One of the questions that came in the chat. Okay. But remember, it's a one-time step. Okay. And that's it. And then you close it. The connection is established. Okay. Now there is a function that gets added as part of this add-in in Excel. There is a new function that gets added to Excel, which is called as Labs.Generative. Okay. So now let's look at a few examples of using this Labs.Generative function, which got added here. See, this is the name of the function, Labs.Generative. As you can see, Labs.Generative. The structure of this function, the syntax of this function is Labs.Generative. Then you give the prompt under pair or double quotes. Then you will get an answer. Just to give you an example of it, before we do data-based analysis, let's look at one example of this Labs. So if I write equals to, and let me just zoom slightly so that you all can see it. If I write Labs.Generative AI, right? Then it says write the prompt, set the temperature, set the max tokens, select the model. The last three arguments, the temperature, the max token, and model, are optional. As you can see, they are in square brackets. In any Excel formula, when you see some arguments given inside square brackets, they become optional. Okay, but we'll talk about what they mean and what is the use case of it. Let's say if I simply write, who's the, why is India great? It's a very simple prompt that I have given. You could have gone to ChatGPT as well or Copilot and given the same prompt. And here, there is something called as a temperature. Now in temperature, if you understand a little bit about LLM, the meaning of temperature is what? The meaning of temperature is how much of creativity that you want to have your LLM. For example, do you want the, if you, and the LLM, sorry, the temperature parameter can be between 0 and 2. The closer it is to 2, the more random and creative it will be. For example, if I was trying to create a poem, or if I was trying to create a story, and I wanted my story to be extremely creative, then I would have set the temperature to 1.5, 1.9, 1. Or more than, definitely more than 1, closer to 2. You can't go beyond 2. That is the upper limit. To be more random, more creative, right? But if I want the model to behave like an intelligent, consistent person, consistent analyst who most likely give the same answer for for different people asking the same prompt, then I would keep it closer to 0. Generally speaking, for most of the data driven analysis, we like to keep it closer to 0.2, 0.3, and never more than 0.7. Okay, so by default also, if I don't set it up as part of the configuration, by default it is set to, the temperature is set to 0.7. If you want, you can also reduce it. You can make it creative as well. Let's say if I go anywhere above 0.7, it starts to become very, very creative also. I have put it as, let's say, 1. Then the next argument is max tokens. Now you see, like in home, the electricity board charges you on the basis of the units that you consume, right? When you have taken electricity or subscribed to electricity from an electricity provider, then you pay based on the units of electricity that you consume. Here, in the world of large language model, most of the companies which give you access to their large language model will charge you based on the tokens. And one token roughly corresponds to 4 characters. 4 characters. For example, love, LOVE, would typically be 1 token. But it's not always consistent, but roughly, approximately, that's what the parameter is, that 1 token is equivalent to 4 characters. Okay. So if I write that I want the response of this question to be in, I don't know, maybe 20, not more than 20 tokens. If you don't put a maximum, then it will give you, it puts a maximum of 1,000 tokens. And if you want to know the real-time pricing of per token, you can definitely Google and figure out the pricing of OpenAI model based on tokens, and it gives very nicely for 1 million tokens, 10 lakh tokens, how much money or how much dollars they will charge. Okay. Now, here you can specify 3.5 turbo, the model name if you want to. Otherwise, by default, it is 3.5 turbo, which is good enough for doing basic analysis. Of course, the bigger the recent the model will be, the better the responses can be. But of course, they start to become more expensive. The rate per token for a older model would be far cheaper than a more recent model. But you see, the token prices are coming down as we go in, as the time progresses because of the competition. Anyway, so my prompt is ready. My prompt is, why is India great? My temperature is 1. That means I am letting it to be creative as well. And my max token is 20. So roughly I want the answer to be in 80 characters or so, because 1 token is roughly equivalent to 80. 1 token is roughly equivalent to 4 characters. So when I press enter, it takes a few moments. It says busy. Now it says India is considered great due to its rich cultural heritage, diversity, historical significance, democratic values, and economic potential, and contributions to various fields like this and so forth. So it has given the answer, right? Now, if we wanted to be more precise, then we could have reduced the temperature. Okay. 1 is not a great temperature for the kind of data analysis tasks that we do most likely. Okay. All right. So that's how the Labs.Generative AI function works. You give the prompt, and if you want, you can set the temperature and the max tokens, and then it will behave. All right, I'm going to delete this for now. And let's now do some good analysis. So the first thing that we want to do is that we want to see, I mean, again, I've given some sample task here, but after the session is over, after the bootcamp is over, you can, the data will be with you and you can try whatever things that you want to try. The first thing I'm going to do here, the first task is, does the data have any missing value in this column called as date of exit? If you notice, the date of exit is a column. The last column right now is date of exit, as you can see. Okay, I want to see if there is any blank data, and let's see if the prompt, if AI can analyze that and give us the answer. Now, if you notice here, what we want to do is we want to send a prompt. The prompt is, I've written the prompt for your convenience, but again, you guys can play around with the prompt here and see the results, as you vary the prompt. So the prompt here says, analyze this column of data in a comma separated values format and let me know if there are any missing values. The values are given as numbers representing Excel dates. Now, okay, let's do this. So I copy this, analyze this column of data in comma separated values format and let me know if there are any missing values. The values are given as numbers representing Excel dates, because if you have worked with Excel, you might know this already, that whenever you work with dates in Excel, they're considered as numbers. That is the reason why that I've specified this. So I've copied this, and then I go to the next cell here and I write this function Labs.Generative AI, and in my prompt I start with, let me make it bigger so that you all can see it. For your help, I've given the first function here as well. I'm going to use labs.generative, and then in the prompt, I paste the prompt that I had written. I can see the formula over here as well. And then it says, I close this double quotes, but I am going to use ampersand here. The reason why I'm using ampersand here is because we want to concatenate. Because remember, we also have to send the data of this date of exit column to the prompt. So that is the reason why I am merging, or I'm concatenating the prompt along with the data. Okay. In order to concatenate in Excel, you use ampersand sign as one of the options. Then I am going to also use a function called as text join. What this function will do is, it will help me put that column of data in a comma separated values file. For example, the delimiter here is a comma in this function, comma, let ignore empty cells, let it be true, comma, then it says where are the text. Now the text values, or the values, are given over here. So I'm going to start from the column header and I select up until the end. Okay, up until the end. So if you notice here, what we have done is text join, comma, because the delimiter in this function, that means because it's a comma separated values file, so that means the data also given here is comma true, which basically means if there was any empty value here, it would ignore it. And this is the name of the entire column. And I close this text join function. Guys, if you do not understand text join, I would recommend after the session is over, you can always reach out to me as well. I'm going to give you guys my email address, or you can easily chat GPT-8 or just Google it. It's a very easy function. It helps you to join this data as one continuous sentence where the data is divided by comma. And this text join function is closed, and I'm going to also close the Labs.Generative AI function. If you notice this time, I'm not setting the token, and I'm not also setting the creativity, which is the temperature. I will go with the default ones, where the temperature is 0.7 and the token is approximately 1000 tokens or so. But you can always do that every time you write the prompt. Okay, great. Now I run this statement, I press enter, and it says busy. Busy basically means a good thing. It is sending the prompt, sending the data, and it is going to get the data. So let me Control X this function and put it over here, so that it says there are missing values in the data. Okay, so maybe there are missing values. Okay, if there are missing values, if you want to treat them, you can also treat them. We have recorded a video specifically on what techniques can you use to treat the missing value. I'll upload the link of that video as well, which is there on Ivy Pro School's YouTube channel in the description of the recording later. So you can watch that video if you want to treat it. For now, we will ignore it. Now, let's come to the next thing, which is my favorite, which is where the large language model's true capability can be utilized, which is to do sentiment analysis. Now, what is the sentiment analysis? Sentiment analysis meaning, yes, of course, all the steps, Abhishek, would be shared. And the recording would also be shared with all the participants who are attending the workshop. Now, sentiment analysis is, if you remember in our column, which says, in our data, there is a column called as reason for leaving, wherein the employees have given verbally or maybe have written, have given in writing, what is the reason for them to leave? And there are quite a few of them. For example, looking for a role that involves more talent management, and I've discussed this with my manager, but haven't seen any improvements. And because of this reason, the employee decided to quit the organization or leave the organization. So there are a lot of such. So as a human being, we are very good in analyzing such sentences, the natural language sentences, and figure out whether they are positive, negative, or neutral. But when it comes to using software applications, this is where it becomes slightly difficult. And that is where the power of large language model can be utilized very well, because we all understand that, it can understand human emotions as well to a certain extent, and can easily analyze these kind of sentimental sentences also. So how do we do it? Now, the first thing that I'm asking here is, how many of these messages which are there under the reason for leaving column are positive? Then we'll ask how many are negative, and then we'll ask how many are neutral. For that, I've already designed a prompt, and the prompt says, analyze the reason of leaving data column, which I'm going to give in given in comma separated values format, and find how many reasons are positive. Just give the number of reasons without any leading text. So let's copy this prompt. And again, you can always play around with the prompt, guys. Make them more detailed, make them less detailed, and see the impact. It's really up to you. So now I write equals to labs.generative AI. My prompt is this. I paste the prompt, then I close it, and then I use the ampersand sign again, ampersand sign to concatenate with text join. And the delimiter is comma, true to ignore the empty cells, comma. And this time, remember, what happens is, this text join function has a upper limit of around 37,000 characters.
Gotcha.
Aman, can you be on mute, please? Yeah. So now, give me a second. All right. Okay. So now, as I said, I was trying to tell you that text join function has a limit that it can only combine up, or it can only join up to 37,000 some characters. So if I select the entire reason for leaving column, then it goes beyond that limit. And hence what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select only the top 100 or 150 rows of reason for leaving column, and not the entire thing, because then you will get a hash value error. And that is not because that LLM model cannot analyze that much of data. It is because your text join function, which is an Excel function, cannot handle more than 37,000 a few characters. So I have selected this, and then and I'm going to select, I'm going to select quite a significant one. I'm selecting around 120, 21 reasons, which could be a good sample to have. And I close this text join function and I close the Labs.Generative AI function and I press enter. And now it takes a few moments because of course, the amount of data that we have shared now is significantly large. So it's going to take slight bit of time. And now it gives me an answer as number of positive reasons for leaving is 39. Let's modify this prompt. Let's modify this prompt and paste it over here. And now this time we say the reason for leaving given compensated value, find how many reasons are negative. Okay. And let's see, it says around 25 negative. And similarly, you can modify the prompt to get neutral. Remember guys, this is where the creativity factor comes from the picture. If you want more consistent data every time you run this prompt, then set the temperature closer to 0, like 0.1, 0 or 0.2, and not more than that. Because remember, just like, I mean, if I show these regions for leaving to several human beings also, they may also have different opinion whether a particular message is or particular reason is negative, positive, or neutral. So that is why there is slight bit of debate and you may get slight bit of variance in the answer as well. And that is the reason why you want to probably reduce the creativity by reducing the temperature value and keeping it closer to 0. Okay, to get more consistent answer. Now we have seen that it can do that basic sentiment analysis. Now, let's ask it slightly more technical question and let's see if it behaves properly or not. Yeah. So there is a question that I have asked here. Does longer tenure mean lesser attrition in the data? Does longer tenure of an employee mean lesser attrition? So essentially what we're trying to understand is if there is any analysis points in the tenure of the data. Now, if I go back to the data here, I do not have a tenure column, but I can easily calculate the tenure column. If you know a little bit of Excel, you can easily calculate the tenure column by subtracting date of joining from date of exist using a year frac column. So let's say I create a column here called as tenure in years, and I write equals to, and then I use a function called as year frac, which gives me the difference between the start date and the end date in number of years completed. So the start date is going to be this, and the end date is going to be the date of exit. And it gives me the year in fractional values, of course, based on the year that has been completed. And I'll select it, and I will reduce the decimal to maybe 2 decimal places. Okay. So 0.21 basically means 0.21 of any year. 1.01 means a year and maybe a few months, a few days more, right? So that's how the data is. So I have got a tenure column. Now I wanted to analyze, and the prompt that I've written here is, the following data contains the tenure in years of employees who left an organization in comma separated values. Looking at the tenure, what can you conclude about exiting employee behavior? It's a very generic prompt that I've created purposely. So let's look at the Labs.Generative AI function and let's see how it behaves. And text join, the delimiter can be this, true, and the text would be which column? Tenure column. Now I'm going to select the entire tenure column and close it, and then close the function. And now we have, based on the tenure of exiting employees, it is difficult to drive definitive conclusions, is what it says. However, the data suggests majority of the exiting employees had relatively short tenures, with a few outliers who had longer tenures. If you want it to be more detailed, if you had designed the prompt to be more detailed, it would have given you more detail as well. Okay. And if you wanted to be lesser creative, then you can increase the temperature, decrease the temperature, and keep it closer to 0.1, 0.2, or 0.3 to get more factual answer. Now, one last prompt that we'll try here in sentiment analysis, and then we'll try something else. Okay. It says, if there are any common themes for people leaving. So for example, there are a lot of things, a lot of reasons there may be there, but I want to kind of aggregate and get some common themes in the data. So it says the following data contains reason for leaving of the organization who exited an organization. Please analyze this data and give 3 to 4 lines common themes. And I am going to come to this thing prompt, and then I'll say that please analyze this data and three to four top common themes, most common ones, top common themes for reasons for leaving. Okay, that is the prompt that I want to use. So I'll select it, Control C, and I come over here. I use the Labs.Generative function, prompt % as join. And then come here. I'll select a few. Again, I'm not selecting whole because the reason for leaving column has a lot of text in it. So I've selected just like it. Close it and close it. So it says, based on the data provided, the common themes for people leaving the organization: seeking better career opportunity, employee mentioned leaving this. Then the second is personal reasons. Some employees mentioned this. And dissatisfaction with the current employee. Again, it has given a lot of data. You could have reduced it by setting the max tokens and also reduce the creativity of it by reducing the temperature as well. So you can see the data is here, so it has analyzed. So here, guys, what we did was that we relied on external large language model to do most of the analysis. But you'd be surprised that Excel also has good enough Excel features which can be useful for analyzing data, at least basic amount of data. It has a decent amount of AI features available, which means that you do not even have to write a lot of formulas. Excel's AI features will do most of the things. So you can try more some of these more prompts that I've given here using the same structure, Labs.Generative AI. But now I want to show you a few Excel's inbuilt AI features. So the first thing that we'll do is that we will try and ask questions on our data in text format. So I want to actually be able to type questions just like how we type questions in ChatGPT and get answers from my data which resides in Excel. And Excel can actually easily do that. So I go to the data, I keep my cursor inside the data anywhere. Then under home, I go to something called as analyze data. And now when I go to analyze data, because my cursor was inside the table, so it automatically picks the entire table and then it is ready with a prompt here. And you can literally in natural language ask any question. For example, I can say, how many total employees are there in this table? So it says distinct count of employees 488. Look at the power of it. It's like you are ChatGPTing on, and your source of the data is this Excel table. Okay, it's very interesting. You can ask various different things. So you can ask top 3 departments with most attritions. So it says the average of tenure in, so most attrition, or you may say most tenure. So it says finance has the largest tenure, and IT and whatnot. And if you want some suggestion on the questions, so you can actually look here. So it says insights for tenure in years. Let's see what insights that it does. And now the best thing is that it will give you a lot of things. For example, look at the charts that it has created. Job title is IT export specialist, source name. This has noticeably higher tenure in years. This particular job title has noticeably higher tenure in years, and it shows it and creates a chart. And if you like any one of these charts, you can click on insert pivot chart. And what it will do is it will end up inserting this pivot table with which it created this chart. And then you can utilize this in your dashboard if you want to. So I find it very, very interesting and very useful feature to use. This feature is available in the recent version of Excel. Yes, it's not available in the older version of Excel. Sorry. Of course, Microsoft is a for-profit organization. So you can see it's very, very powerful. Will the chart be interactive? I mean, not as interactive as you may find Power BI charts, but it is decently interactive, because what you get is, because it's a pivot chart, so you also get this, so you can play around with it. You can, instead of average, you can do a lot of other things as well. You can change the source, so you can do those things. But of course, I mean, if you have used Power BI or Tableau kind of a tool, then the charts there are significantly more interactive than Excel charts. Okay, so you can actually see some of the suggestions that it is giving you based on the question that you asked. Yes. No, these features are available in Office 365, definitely. If you alter the data, then of course the charts will also get altered, Deepan. Definitely the charts will, all these are linked with the data that we have. You'll have to refresh it, just like how we refresh any pivot table, right? Click over here and refresh it, and then it will get refreshed. Yeah. All right. Now, so as I said, so you have your own bot, question and answer bot on the data that you have in your Excel. It's like having a ChatGPT interface, but the source of the data is your Excel data. It's very interesting. I find it very useful. So a lot of questions. You can almost imagine any question and it'll answer the question quite nicely from the data. Of course, you have to ask the question from the data. All right, let's look at one more thing. Say, for example, if you have used Excel pivot tables, we know what we do with Excel pivot tables is that we create different summary tables, like how these are some different summary tables. Here also, this is a pivot table, pivot summary tables, right? Now, normally what we do is we keep the cursor inside the table, we go to insert, we go to pivot table, and we insert the pivot table. And then we decide what fields we want to see in the pivot table and so on and so forth. So we do a lot of manner, a lot of efforts to do it. But Excel's AI feature can also recommend you the pivot tables. So if you keep your cursor inside the table, you go to insert, and there you'll find recommended pivot tables. So the moment you click on them, on the right hand side, just like the Q&A, it'll show you a lot of different pivot tables that you can think of using. And if you want, you can bring them into an existing worksheet, or you can bring them into a new worksheet. For example, if I click on new worksheet, it will end up creating a new worksheet and it'll give you this pivot table there. So this way, you get slightly more control over the data that you want to, or analysis that you want to do, without doing a lot of efforts, and you're relying on Excel's recommended pivot tables. But more powerful than this feature is that analyze data that we saw, because it actually gives you the ability to prompt it and ask questions like how we ask questions in ChatGPT. And that is one of my favorite Excel's AI feature that I believe Microsoft has introduced. Alrighty, guys. So we are almost close to the session now. I will open the door for questions, guys. I will take the questions for the next 2-3 minutes. Otherwise, as I said, do feel free to get connected with me, guys, on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn ID is very simple to remember. If you just go to Google and search for 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗏, the first LinkedIn ID that you will get would be mine. Go ahead and send me a LinkedIn request, and I'll happily accept the request from you. As I said, the AI world is open for everybody right now, because it's a rather new world, and we are going through an AI revolution. And in Ivy, we have various data and AI courses in collaboration with IIT Guwahati's 𝗂𝗏 Academy. Will be more than happy to discuss any of the courses if you are interested. I will be happy to discuss, or my colleagues are also there to help you. And feel free to explore some of these courses. And more importantly, do try everything that we have seen here today. And if you go through Ivy's YouTube channel, you will find a lot of such great free tutorials on various GenAI topics. So if I go to Ivy's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ivproschool, you will find various GenAI, generative AI tutorials. There is a playlist dedicated to generative AI as well. And you can actually get to see a lot of these small 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours kind of techniques that we have seen in we have done in generative AI. So I'll recommend you to give it a try, guys.
All right, guys.
Pretty interesting things, and they are done by not
People
just
are
me,
going
by
to lose
others
their
as
jobs
well.
or not. So these kind of questions are also coming. So the main differentiate.
Alrighty. For the people who are asking how you will get the notes that or the files that I was using today, one, we will upload the recording and we'll share the recording to all the folks who attended the workshop today. Second, we'll share one Google Drive link as well, where these files are already shared. Third, if you had registered before the workshop began, before the bootcamp began, then you would have received these files in your mailbox as well. Okay. Now, do not forget that tomorrow again, we have a AI workshop using Power BI again on similar data set. One of my other colleagues, she's a great champion of Power BI and data visualization. So she will walk you through with the new and the latest AI features in Power BI and how you can utilize that to analyze the data. Yes, I will give you my LinkedIn ID over here as well, no problem. So. There you go. More than happy to be connected with you guys. Thank you. Thank you for attending the workshop today, and thank you for asking all the relevant questions, guys. And hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow again, because if you attend tomorrow's workshop, complete it, then you get the certificate of completion. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hopefully it was helpful. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Thank you.